Welcome, everyone, to the Cyber Physics Podcast, where we unravel the complex web of cybersecurity through the lens of its foundational principles. I'm your host, and today, we embark on an intellectual journey that mirrors the intricacy of physics itself. Joining us are two remarkable experts, Ranghan Venkatraman and Ranbir Bhutani, as we delve into cyber physics in essence.
Ranbir, very good to meet you, and thank you for joining the podcast. I'd like to just maybe a quick high-level background of yourself would be great.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much, Ranghan. So I'm Ranbir Bhutani. I have probably over 2 decades of cybersecurity experience, worked across multiple industries in the federal, manufacturing, healthcare, financial space. Definitely I've been blessed to have worked in every single role in cybersecurity. And then I pivoted out of, corporate world and started my own firm, Cyber Culture. Our focus is fractional CISO services. Basically, does your organization need a CISO? Maybe due to budgets, CISOs are quite expensive, but the idea is to come and build a strategic cybersecurity program. And again, its onus is on the C-levels or board of directors or founders of these businesses to generally care about the safety and security of data. Hopefully, unfortunately, they don't become a victim of a breach or next attack. As you know, everybody's always getting hacked, even the big names, right? Regardless of industry.
Thank you for that overview, and I think you provide a very valuable service. We are also in the cybersecurity space, with the exception that we actually, run an operation where we run many companies' cybersecurity program to, end to end. So ours is comprehensive that includes services, solutions, and products. So we certainly are very interested in this space as much as you are. So great. In your experience today, what do you see as some of the critical challenges for an enterprise, and how do you help them navigate it?
No, that's a good question, a great one actually. A lot of these companies, right? At the end of the day, whether it's startups or companies that are pretty well established, right? It's genuinely understanding, how are they protecting their data? Like, let's say if there's some sensitive data, like account information or maybe credit card information, just giving you a general idea, right? So the idea is that, okay, well, maybe cybersecurity could have been some thought eventually in the like, let's say that the business is already, sorry, they've already been in business for a couple years, and it's something that maybe they took more seriously or maybe potentially could have been breached. But the idea is that, okay, well, again, it goes back to say, okay, well, we need to build something around whether you tie it back, let's say, for a National Institute of Standards and Technology, right, where there's a lot of compliance there, like cybersecurity framework, for example, right? So the idea goes back to is like, okay, and I said it earlier, but like, do they genuinely care? Are they worried about being the next victim of at least the founders or owners of these businesses, right?
When you face resistance, with customers, see, for example, what I've seen is there are very few customers who are really serious about making sure that they have total security or defense in depth. The
Sure.
majority of them, seem to pursue a path where they're just okay with the minimum, and somehow it's turned into a box checking exercise. How do you deal with that, and what are you seeing in your experience?
Yeah, no, that, again, being like, at least in the business I'm running, and a fractional CISO or virtual CISO to these clients, right? The resistance, very much so, is like, let's say they've had a program in place or had policies or procedures that haven't been updated in years. They don't want a lot of changes because legal has approval or says, does the final stamp on these policies, right? Which legal has nothing to do with cyber, right? They don't understand our world. So that's a challenge there, right? It just depends on who's in charge and who's running the show, right? And to your point, like, there's that resistance there because in that particular client, that's how they had it. But why does it have to be that way, right? And how do you convince the clients otherwise to say, okay, well, it goes to the realm that cybersecurity always has been its own entity, right? Unfortunately, it gets wrapped up, and you've probably seen this, under IT, or it's under a different department that's still under IT, or maybe they have the CISO reports to the CFO, for example. I mean, there's just many different scenarios, and sometimes it can be challenging to try to get through to these clients and explain to them that you know that cybersecurity just has many different moving components and pieces to it, or subcomponents, right?
Maybe one, a piece of advice that you would like to offer to any enterprise, sort of in an unfiltered way. What would that be?
That's a great question as well. Always incorporate security from the beginning, whether you're a startup, whether you've been backed by private equity or investment firm to build a company, always, always, always incorporate it, no matter what. If you're developing a product, DevSecOps, that's why it's called development security operations. But let's minus that security, because working with developers sometimes they won't, utilize best coding practices, for example. But definitely would push that always, always, always integrate it before you even start, or at least part of your software development life cycle, right?
Thanks for that. How do you actually convince, a customer who probably says that I have a security program and it works, and they're probably a little close to learning about new things that are emerging to sort of augment it further, because we all know that there's nothing called a defined end state in security, because it's constantly evolving. You have to keep up with it. But what if you had someone says, I have it all?
Yeah, no, I've gotten that a lot, and I was like, okay, well, if you ever need need a second opinion, like here's a good example. So when someone goes to the doctor, right? Let's say the primary care doctor, right? The doctor says, okay, well, let's say you have a pain or a problem or something going on, right? Doctor says, okay, well, here's some medicine. This should make you feel better. You take the medicine. A few days later, it got worse. So you're like, okay, well, I want to get a second opinion. So maybe you go to a specialist, right? Or doctor recommends you to a specialist, and there was actually the underlying problem was something else. Gave you a different type of medicine, and in a few days you finally start healing and getting better, right? Just like and I'm aligning it back to a cybersecurity posture, right? A program is only as good as it continues to change or evolve, right? So the idea is that, like, when a client says, okay, their cybersecurity program is we're good, we're fine, but what if the policies haven't been updated in years, right? It's not with the times, especially we're going to AI and quantum realm, right? That's coming real fast, real soon, right? Even though it seems like it's years out, light years out, or years out, right? So, but that's one piece of it, and the second part, or second response to your question, is cybersecurity always, for some reason, is there's no return on investment, but there is, right? Let's say if they got breached, if they got hacked, not only it's going to cost them. SolarWinds is a very good example, actually. They lost about 30% of their clientele. I think they had about a couple 100,000 customers, right? They got breached. There was a Russian group called Cozy Bear APT29, right? They hacked their update server, right? And the way the hack went was quite easy, right? So that goes to show that yes, you can have the best programs in place, but the idea is that going to these owners and maybe perhaps having to understand based on use cases of the overall cost, because remember, every employee has a cost to it, versus, and even your product has a cost to it, right? Especially from a revenue standpoint. So the idea is, how do you quantify it, right? And it's something I know how to do, but not most, right? That's the idea, right? Because at the end of the day, as business owners really understand profits versus losses, because they're looking at those numbers, right? They're not saying, okay, well, you have 20 critical CVEs or vulnerabilities that you need to address. They'll walk away because they don't understand technical. They're very process oriented, right?
Thank you for that insight as well. So, no, it's great connecting with you, Ranbir, and nice, that you were able to join our podcast. We look forward to more in the future, and hopefully collaborating with you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. Take care.
Okay, now we can talk. Actually,
Okay.
I'm just continuing. So which part of the US are you living?
Sorry. I am in Northern Virginia, near Washington, D.C. So
Yeah, my base is Chicago.
I have one of my brother-in-laws lives in Palatine.
Yes, Valentine is not too far away from where I live. It's Vernon Hills. And of course, I spend my time, as of last year, I've lived about 30 years in the US, and now I spend my time in Asia as well because we have expanding customers here in Asia and Australia and other countries. So
That's awesome.
That's the journey that we are in. And we actually, one of the things I'd love to do, Ranbir, is if you're open to it, we can actually share with you our platform for your education knowledge. And hopefully, if you have opportunities, you can be a resell, you can resell it. And that gives you also, a revenue base, because it's usually subscription models. So, you almost perpetual, it gives you perpetual revenue.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's good to know. And I would like to know more, I guess, about your product. And I mean, are you just general question, are you getting clients that are looking sort of for like a fractional, like even though you had your product, but are they looking for like maybe like a fractional CISO, or I don't know, just getting an idea from because it seems like you're global as well, not just US. So
yes. See, I work in customers that already have fractional CISOs. Okay. So some of them actually are already fractional CISOs in companies. So as such, I have not, like I said, positioned a fractional CISO, as part of what I did, because some of them already have CISOs, and or they sort of use us as their vCISO, and then in certain cases they already have a fractional CISO. But fractional CISO as a market is a good one, especially for SMBs.
yes, absolutely.
Because the SMB market, is quite expensive. But if I were you, I would consider coming up with a pricing model which is not too high.
Yeah, no, my pricing model is not going to break somebody's bank, because to your point, CISOs are expensive anyways, right? Like full time, 200,000 average in US.
So if your pricing model is reasonable, you should be able to. I mean, if I were you, I would consider doing it for quite a few ones. I mean, depending on the bandwidth that you have, so that your calendar is full. But there is definitely a market for it. I mean, there's no question about the market size for it. See, keep in mind that CISOs are A, expensive, B, they're not available, and good ones are few and far between. So sometimes you may end up paying somebody a lot of money, but they're not worth that. They just go with a resume or,
Yeah, no, it's an interesting conversation we're having, because some of them charge like 10 or 15,000 for a minimum amount of time per month. And to your point, they may not be quality resource, or based on the value, right? I mean, again, I'm not boasting my own self, but I was fortunate to have worked in every role of cyber pretty much, from pen testing to building threat intel programs and all that. But the idea is a lot bigger than that, right? It's working with the C levels and board of directors, because the challenge, and I think you get this, is that CISOs have a rock and a hard place, right? Like if the organization gets breached, then they get terminated, their team, and that's not going to solve a problem, though. And when did CISOs become the scapegoats, right? Of companies getting breached or facing a big ransomware, like Colonial Pipeline is a big one, right? Just giving you some ideas, right?
No, without a doubt. I mean, CISOs are in the hot seat, and it's a difficult role to fill.
Yeah.
And they continue to attract a lot of scrutiny. Like I said, but however, CISOs that are really good are few and far between at the moment, because it does take someone who's a continuous learner, someone who's able to keep up with trends, someone who can connect the dots. And see, the problem is complex because you have to do it cost effectively. You have to do it very well. If the company is under budgeted or underfunded, that blame will go to the CISO, because at the end of the day, I mean, you're better off operating, with a big budget and allowing, a free hand, rather than a company that just does not want to spend money. And then what happens is, when shit hits the fan, they've completely forgotten the fact that they've underfunded it, and then they just can bulldoze the CISO.
Yeah, no, and again, I don't know if you're open to it, but I like, what's been success for me is channel partners, right? Let's say I work through MSP, profit sharing always seems to be working the best, and that's how I've been getting my clients. I have a business development representative, but I mean, he's sending out emails, but emails are very ineffective today. Like nobody's really reading them. I'm sure you and I we just skim through them really fast, or just say somebody's trying to sell you, because in LinkedIn, everybody's trying to sell you lead generation, right? And it seems like not a lot of people are buying, but it's like, to your point, who knows someone and then they give word of mouth recommendation. I think I'm going to start going to more events in the US. I just, I haven't had that many. That's another challenge. Or, who wants to pay $2,000 or $3,000 to go to the event, right? So
Can you do me a favor? Maybe share your resume with me. Let's have another conversation
sure.
about perhaps areas where you focus, and then we can discuss how we can, sort of partner.
Oh, I would love to upsell your product too, right? So as their vCISO, it's just that, like, once I build that reputation with them, and I'm hoping most love me as far as like whatever I do, because I come in and I'm genuine with them and I build a solid program. But also, let's say the product, once you show me, then like it's just an easy sell. Like nobody, like you don't have to like spend that extra funding on your part, like your sales folks, your account executives. I mean, that's a lot of overhead costs for you, right? I'm assuming. And it just, sometimes you don't get as many bites versus, okay, you send a consultant in place and they build that relationship. And that's what I've been doing with MSPs, right? Like I've been trying to partner with them. They resell all these services like encryption as a service, and that's part of my risk review, like security risk review, very very high level, right? It goes over even their acceptable use policy, how they're doing financial transactions, for example. So, but naturally, everything that you sell, even if you have other partners through your business, right? And again, it's up to the company if they're going the VAR route, for example. But there's just more avenues for revenue, right? That's really the idea, right? But I don't know. I'm just sharing some ideas with you. So
No, absolutely. No, I think, see, at the end of the day, we all have to find ways to work together, help each other, and
absolutely.
it's just part of the process. And
Yeah.
I don't think I could run a business if I'm, if I don't have the relationships and things
Yeah.
like
No.
that. So it's a process that you have to get your name out there, on a regular basis. And
Absolutely.
I think it's good to understand your background a little bit in depth, so I understand where your areas of strengths are, and then we can probably discuss and see, where there may be a fit to, slide even, whether it's a
Oh
CISO
yeah.
kind of
No.
a
Absolutely.
profile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you feel like you want to go under resilience, right? I'm just your consultant, and we're B2B on the back end. If that's easier for you, not a problem at all. So,
So we
uh,
can figure out, and it'll vary by the company we deal with, but it is all, in the realm of possibilities. So why don't we, I'll ask my team to set up a follow-up call with you, and then we
okay.
can discuss the possibilities. In the meantime, just at least your background. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well, and we
Yeah. No.
can.
I think I connected with you and you accepted. Let me double check. Give me 1 second. I know we have a few minutes, or we have 10 minutes left. Um, so how long you've been in business, if you mind me asking? So,
So I've been an entrepreneur for like 13 years or so. Actually,
and
longer than that. Yeah, 13
and
years. Yeah.
and you would never go back, right? I'm assuming you enjoy generally what you do, of course, which is nice.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah. I'll say it's God's given gift. I would not trade this for anything else.
No, I left corporate America March of last year, and I enjoy not having a paycheck. It's okay. You make it work, right?
So, see, entrepreneurship is either something you love or hate, and it has to be in your DNA, and you have to see. Corporate America, to be perfectly honest with you, at one level, I was a CTO at Granger, and I left there at 2008,
Hmm,
and I did really well there, and I did do well financially as well. But
very nice.
I love the intellectual stimulation that comes with this. There is intellectual, emotional stimulation that you cannot replicate in anything else. It's non-stop work for me, but I love every bit of it.
It's I'm enjoying our conversation. I think we align well and we think along the same. I always tell everybody this: either you chase the dream or you chase the dollar. I'd rather chase the dream, as you're chasing your dream, but you're in it now and you're running it, right? So it's very nice. Nice to hear that, right?
No, absolutely, and like I said, it's a there's an adrenaline rush that comes with this that you can't get in anything else. I mean, at least in my view. And the amount of learning and the amount of grind that you go through, it's like asking someone, why are you working for the armed forces, and why are you working in the border in extreme difficult situations, and putting your life in danger. I mean, so entrepreneurship is not exactly that, but depending on what you're trying to achieve, the nice thing with it is you can, I can set my goal. I can wake up in the morning and set my goal to be whatever I want it to be,
It's very true.
and
It's
go
very
for it. But if you're sitting in corporate, you're limited by what they want you to do, no matter how high a position you are. Even a CEO can be blocked by the board. It's not like you get to do whatever the heck you want.